Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu are among the most debated by the fans on whether or not they're actually good games. Introduced as a way for fans of the main series game to become familiar with the Pokemon Go app, the Let's Go franchise just isn't for everyone. Instead of wild battles to level up, players are forced to catch Pokemon, and battles are reserved only for trainer and gym leaders. Let's Go Eevee was the first game I played on the Switch and was the whole reason I bought one in the first place. And somehow I've never Nuzlocked this game before, so I figured it'd be a good time to play these games one last time before I get a Switch 2 to play Legends ZA. But just doing a Nuzlocke can get a little boring, and I like a bit of a challenge, so I've decided to Nuzlocke Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu only using shiny Pokemon, and for the first time ever, I'm actually playing on set mode. As always, I've laid out some rules for this run, and slightly different from a normal Nuzlocke. If a Pokemon faints, it cannot be used, and to up the stakes, I'll release any Pokemon that does faint. No healing items in battle, no leveling past the gym leader's level cap. And since I'm only using shinies, I try to do a hunt after every gym battle, but also will use any wild shinies I happen to come across. And if I'm able to complete this challenge, I'll be giving away all the shiny Pokemon I have left to one lucky person. All you need to do to be eligible for these shinies is to like the video, leave a comment of who your favorite Gen 1 Pokemon is, and make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Because we're playing Let's Go Pikachu, our starter is obviously this Pikachu we just caught, which unfortunately is shiny locked, so we won't be able to use him. But because he'll be with us the entire run, it's only fitting that I name him Squid. And because we can't use him for this first gym, we'll have to start our first hunt right away. Okay, I take it back. Before we can start our hunt, we have to deliver this parcel to Professor Oak and battle our rival, who we named Subcount, because I'm constantly fighting my subscriber count. Right now, we're holding strong at 62 of you, but who knows, maybe after this video, I'll hit 100 or something. For our first hunt, there aren't a terrible amount of encounters we could go for, but luckily, Let's Go change some of the spawn locations, and there's actually a little Easter egg in my house. So our first hunt is going to be for Oddish. In the Let's Go games, the base odds for finding a shiny Pokemon are 1 in 4,096. One of the mechanics introduced in this game is catch combos, which also increases your odds. Once you've caught 31 of the same Pokemon in a row without breaking your chain, your odds are increased to 1 in 341. But I found out during this run that these odds only apply to the next spawning Pokemon. So in order to maintain these odds, you have to keep catching Pokemon, which I didn't always do. You can also use one of the newly introduced items called lures to further those odds, but I'm not able to get one until after a second hunt. So with these low odds, it's no surprise that this first hunt took forever. Even with the catch combo going, there's still a chance that I could find a shiny that I'm not searching for, and on this route, my other options are Pidgey and Rattata. Although not ideal, Rattata and Raticate are two of my favorite Pokemon. Don't ask me why, I think it's because of nostalgia, but I just really don't want to catch a Pidgey. In my opinion, Legends Arceus had the best shiny hunting because you'd hear the sound when a shiny spawned. However, in Let's Go, the Pokemon appears with visible stars around it, just no audio to indicate this has happened. And that may seem pretty obvious, but Pokemon also have blue or red sparkles around them depending on their size. The color of the grass here is very confusing because it's like the neon green of the Oddish. So when I see like the Oddish top mixed with that, it's like, oh, there it is. And unfortunately, I will not see a green Oddish for quite some time. I love how they hop around. But I don't love how they're all blue. I still think I'm gonna get a Pidgey first. I've never noticed how weird the hands move. Ah! Oh, just kidding. I was blue! It looks green from the leaves! As you can see, at about the 13-hour mark, I start to go a little bit insane here. Where's my haunted dish? Where's my haunted dish? I want my haunted dish. Shut up! Shut the f. After 13 hours of looking at Oddishes, I finally come across a shiny one, and I'm instantly reminded why I hated this game the first time I played it. Oh no. Oh my god. I'm scared. What do? In order to catch Pokemon, you have to throw a ball using the Joy-Con, which is friggin' wonky. I tried moving my Switch closer, making sure I was directly straight in front of it, but continuously I had problems throughout this entire playthrough. Oh my god! Back when I started this playthrough, it was still July, so I was gonna name my team members after things in my garden, but that didn't really end up happening. I still decided to name my new starter Arugula though.
Right in front of my salad?
With my new buddy Arugula by my side, I can finally start this run and take on the first gym leader, which luckily for me is Brock, the rock type trainer. I'm not sure if this was really necessary, but for the first gym, I'd rather be safe than sorry, so I start off by setting up 3 growth, raising Arugula's special attack, and then I was able to one-shot both his Geodude and Onix with an Absorb. Easy peasy, first gym down. Wasting no time after defeating the first gym, I think it's time to start my next shiny hunt, which I've decided on looking for a Mankey. Not that this is going to be useful for the next gym, but I just really wanted to use this Pokemon since I haven't used one in a long time. I feel like this one's going to be annoying because they just run all over the place. No way! Yeah! I'm scared! After that oddish hunt, I think the universe decided to throw me a bone because not even an hour into this hunt, I find the mint chip monkey. That was like less than an hour. I named this gorgeous gal Jessie after one of the best moments in the Pokemon anime. Coincidentally, while making my way through Mount Moon, we're introduced to none other than Team Rocket, specifically Jessie, James, and Meowth. The added cutscenes and story they put into these remakes is one of the things I do really love about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. And yes, my opinion of these games will be all over the place. Speaking of all over the place, I have to give a disclaimer here. My next recording should have been me taking on my rival, clearing Route 24 and 25, and taking on Misty, but the footage got corrupted. I debated for a while on what to do here so there wasn't a gap in the video, and what I came up with was to redo the gym battle as close as possible to what originally happened using another shiny Oddish that I found on a different save file. So here's what went down. I was able to find an Oddish pretty quickly as my other account has a shiny charm. So I traded that over to a second new playthrough I made, got to this point, and took on Misty using just Arugula 2.0 as I didn't use Mankey the first time. I started off by putting the Psyduck to sleep in order to set up a few growths. After 2, I was able to restore my HP with an Absorb and take out Misty's first Pokemon. On my lost footage attempt, I was actually able to outspeed her Starmie and take it out with a single Absorb, but on the redo attempt, I was able to defeat her after 2 Absorbs. Which means for the second time, we've defeated Misty, and I promise there is no more lost footage for this playthrough. Currently, I use OBS to record my gameplay, and this has been the second time I've lost footage, so if anyone has any better software suggestions, please let me know. It would be greatly appreciated. With another gym down, that means it's time for our third shiny hunt. First, I make my way to Vermilion City to sell some items and buy some more balls, and then start our next hunt for shiny Growlithe. Growlithe is just a top tier Pokemon in my opinion, and I feel like its shiny color in this game is way better than others, so it deserves a spot on the team. At this point in the run, my shiny hunting method is still probably wrong, but what I've been doing is getting a catch combo of 31, throw on a lure, and then I just wait until shiny spawns. And after about 6 hours, we find our third shiny. No way! An Abra! Do I get it? Stupid question. Obviously, we try to catch this thing. As if. Oh, I got it. Even though I wasn't planning on using an Abra in this run, this is going to be a great addition to the team, especially for a Nuzlocke. Whoa, was not expecting that. We name our Abra Mind Freak. And then we get right back to catching Growlithe. While getting our catch combo back to 31, Mind Freak quickly evolves into Kadabra, which marks the first evolution of the Nuzlocke. I'm not sure about anyone else, but I have the attention span of a goldfish and need to be doing at least 3 other things at all times. So while I was shiny hunting, I watched a lot, and I mean a lot of Bob's Burgers. I made it almost to the end of Season 8 by the time I finished the playthrough, and you'll even hear it in the background of some of my recordings, like this one when I finally find my shiny Growlithe. Ah! I got it! perfect time because a second ago I fell asleep. Finding this Growlithe took 10 hours plus the 6 hours we spent searching before finding that random Abra. So we add him to the team and we nickname him Chili.
Hi, welcome to Chili's.
It always feels like such a nice treat when I can progress with the story after a shiny hunt, and that's exactly what I do. I switch gears from catching Pokemon to battling them, so I can level up my team before we take on the SSN, and in the process, Arugula evolves into a Gloom. Before boarding the ship, we're given a sailor's uniform so we can change into proper seaman attire. The battles on the ship are quite uneventful, except for when we meet up with our buddy Subcat. His team is nothing to be afraid of, but we start off with Mind Freak so he can make his battle debut. Subcount starts with his Pidgeotto, and it goes down to just 2 Psywaves. He then sends in his Eevee, and not that we really needed to, but I swapped into Jessie because I want to give all my team members some love. A first Karate Chop just barely feints this thing before he heals, and then 2 more Karate Chops takes out his ace. His last Pokemon is Oddish, which is clearly inferior to Arugula because it's not shiny, and this thing stands no chance against Chili, who takes it out with a single Flamethrower. After we stomp our rival, he suggests we pay a visit to the captain so he can teach us a secret technique, and all we have to do in return is essentially caress his back while he pukes. Making Pikachu slash Eevee the HM slaves with these secret techniques is actually one of the aspects of this game that I'd enjoy. I like seeing Pikachu flies around the map, and I like the nod to the original Pokemon Yellow with the surfing Pikachu. With the SSN cleared, we get this sweet cutscene on our way out as the ship departs, and then it's time to take on Lieutenant Surge for the third gym battle. Honestly, I'm a little nervous for this gym, not just because Surge is visually an intimidating unit, but mainly because of his Raichu. Luckily for us, we get access to the TM for Dig after defeating Team Rocket in Cerulean City. Don't ask about the footage, which is going to make this gym a little easier. His Voltorb outspeeds Chili, but we're able to take it out with just a dig. Chili lost a bit more health than I expected, so I switch into Arugula so I can try to put the Magnemite to sleep. This way we can hopefully take it out without worry and be prepared to take on his Raichu. After a misclick and a paralysis, I finally get this magnet to sleep and can switch into Jessie to one-shot this Magnemite. With Jessie ready with full HP, I think we're in a good place to take on Surge's ace, and I'm actually able to outspeed his Raichu and use a dig. Obviously, his Thundershock misses because we're underground, and Jessie lands a critical dig, one-shotting his ace and getting us our third badge. With 4 members already on the team, we take a little break from shiny hunting and continue on with the storyline. And during our adventures through the rock tunnel, Jessie evolves into a primate. As a kid, rock tunnel always felt like the longest part of the game to me, but as a reward, we can now listen to some hauntingly amazing music in Lavender Town. Before taking on the 4th gym, we check out the Celadon Game Corner and meet up with our pals Jesse and James again, who give away the location of Team Rocket's secret hideout. Before we take on a bunch of Team Rocket grunts, I decide to evolve Mind Freak into Alakazam. Funny enough, we run into this one grunt who wants to make our secret mission a little easier and gives us a Team Rocket uniform to change into. I remember playing the original games and wanting to join Team Rocket when asked by the grunt in Cerulean, so this was a fun little addition. We run into Jesse and James again, and they're not buying that I'm trying to join Team Rocket. They clearly see through my disguise, and Jesse even calls us an ugly brat. Unfortunately for these two, their team of poison types don't stand a chance against Mind Freak, so once again, Team Rocket goes blasting off again. Or in this case, they run away because they're afraid of Squid. I was a little scared to take on the Rocket admin right away, so I do some story jumping. I decided to switch gears and take on Erica to increase the level cap, but just look at this gym. Another thing Let's Go did great was the art style and how they enhanced some of the locations and the story. Erica's a grass type trainer, but 2 of her Pokemon are dual poison types, so between Chili and Mind Freak, this gym is a cakewalk. Erica's first Pokemon, Tangela, gets one-shotted by Chili's Flamethrower, and the same goes for her Weeping Bell. Her ace is a Vileplume, which once again is not shiny for some reason. It does, however, survive a Flamethrower and regain some of its health with a Mega Drain, but a second Flamethrower does it in, and we now have 4 out of the 8 gym badges, with no deaths at this point. Inspired by Erica, I decide to evolve our first team member so we can finally have a Vileplume as well. Then it's time to make our way back to the Team Rocket hideout and take on Admin Archer. This is a relatively quick battle because Mind Freak is able to one-shot his Weezing, and then this is where things almost go terribly. I anticipated another one-shot by Mind Freak as his Golbat is weak to Psychic and Alakazam is a special attacking beast, but His Golbat survives with a sliver of HP. Luckily, it gets confused and hits itself in confusion, taking it out, but if it landed a crunch, as I suspect it was going for, I think we would have had our first death of the run. Immediately after Archer, we have to take on Team Rocket's big boss, Giovanni. He starts with his iconic Persian, which fakes out Jessie. A Karate Chop takes Persian down to the red, and a Slash takes us down to 9 HP. Once again, almost our first loss. Jessie takes out the Persian with a U-turn, which gives us a clean switch into Arugula to take on his Rhyhorn. 4 times weak to grass is not an ideal matchup for Giovanni, so we very quickly finish this battle, rescue the Cubone from Lavender Town, and we're given the Sylph Scope, which we can use to see ghosts in the Pokemon Tower. With our new binoculars, courtesy of Giovanni, we're able to see that these ghosts are actually Ghastly and Haunters, which we avoid in order to make our way up the tower. But before we can make it, we're stopped by this large ghost, which turns out to be the restless soul of Cubone's mother, Marowak. I'm not sure why they needed to add this heartbreaking part to these remakes, but whoever's chopping onions needs to stop. After that tearjerker, it seems like we'll be able to finally have a chat with Mr. Fuji at the top of the tower, but instead, Team Rocket shows up again for some nefarious reason. So we quickly have to stomp them with Mind Freak and Jessie to send their asses out of here. The whole reason we needed to chat with Mr. Fuji anyways was to get access to the Poke Flute so we can wake up the sleeping Snorlax. With this, we can move this Chungus who's blocking our way to getting to our next shiny hunt. So we whip out our new instrument, play him a little tune, and I guess he didn't really like it that much. Jesse makes quick work of this hangry beast, and then we're on to shiny hunting for Farfetch'd. I do realize this Pokemon isn't great, but I've never used one before, and I actually don't have this shiny. And Farfetch'd is a nightmare to chain for. They constantly jump around, they smack balls with their leaks, and they're difficult to catch in Pokeballs and Great Balls. Plus, I'm too broke to buy Ultra Balls. While catching Farfetch'd, Chili gets to level 38 and learns the move Flare Blitz, which means it's time to finally evolve him using this Firestone we picked up. Arcanine is awesome, and it's probably the strongest member on our team currently. During this hunt, I caught so many friggin' Farfetch that Squid, as well as a bunch of other Farfetch I caught, reached level 100. Spoiler alert, this is the longest hunt of this entire playthrough, clocking in at just over 23.5 hours until we find a shiny. Oh my god! I'm scared! I'm scared! Oh my god! My heart is racing! It's Sunburnt! Oh my god! Ah! 463 of them. My heart is racing. I'm quite excited to be done hunting these stupid things and finally add Cobra Chicken to the team. Time to take on Koga at the 5th gym, or so I thought because this dude won't let us in until we've caught 50 different Pokemon. So it's time to go for a hunt. I guess in my travels, I hadn't caught many Pokemon, so it took me a little while to get to 50. We report back to the gym dude, and to my surprise, it's actually Koga in disguise.
Oh, y'all wanted a twist, eh?
Yes, bitch. Work.
Koga uses Poison-type Pokemon, and although Mind Freak is a great counter to his team, I don't think he'll be able to solo this whole fight. I don't really have a strategy here, other than leading with Mind Freak and then roll with the punches. We start out strong, one-shotting his Weezing with a Psychic, but then he swaps into one of the most underrated Pokemon in my opinion, Venomoth. To counter this, I swap into Chili, who one-shots this gorgeous insect. Up next is his Muck, and this thing is quite the bulky beast. Even though I took a decent amount of recoil damage last turn, and will again, I decide to go with another Flare Blitz because it's the best chance I have to weaken this thing. I bring it down to yellow, and in return, I also bring myself down to yellow HP from the recoil. Muck uses Toxic on me, so I now have to swap out, or else we'll have to say goodbye to Chili, and I don't think anyone wants to do that. I swap back into Mind Freak, who gets hit with a Sludge Bomb, which does a decent amount of damage, but on the next turn, a Psychic is able to finish up Muck, and we're on to Koga's last Pokemon, Golbat. The last time we did a boss battle against a Golbat, it almost ended with us losing Mind Freak, so I'm hoping he makes it out alive with this one too. Luckily enough, a Psychic one-shots Golbat and secures us our 5th gym badge. Now that we have access to the secret technique for Surf, we make our way to the Seafoam Island for our next shiny hunt. The next gym battle is against Sabrina, and she's known to be a difficult trainer and a Nuzlocke ender, so I'd like to have another team member if things go poorly. In my opinion, every team needs a water type, and I've decided Shelter is going to fill that spot for us. Shelter? Hardly know her. Will I have level 100 Shelters? Our Shelters don't quite get to level 100, but after 5.5 hours, we do finally find our orange clam. Ah! I got it! Does anyone else get super annoyed with himself? Because I seem to react the same way every time I find a shiny. That's a boy! Gotti! 323 Shelters later, and we're finally able to add Junior, the baby scallop, to the team.
It's a baby scallop.
What's the matter? Is he stupid?
No, Patrick, he's just a baby.
A stupid baby scallop isn't going to help very much against Sabrina's gym, so we evolve Junior right away into a cloister. Once again, some plug is stopping us from taking on the gym, which is literally the entire point of this game, so we have to head to Silpho to battle the current league champion Blue. For once, we actually use our buddy Cobra Chicken, as Blue starts with Executor. The first air slash nearly one-shots, but luckily it flinches, and a second air slash takes it out. He then sends out one of the worst Pokemon ever, a Charizard. Cobra Chicken stands no chance against this thing, so we swap into our newest member, Junior. On the switch-in, Junior loses about half his health to a Heat Wave, but is able to one-shot Charizard with a Hydro Pump. I guess he only has 2 team members, so this is a quick and easy battle. Making our way to the top of Silpho, we once again run into our besties, Jesse and James, and once again they stand no chance against us. We eventually make it to the president's office, where he's being harassed by Giovanni as he's looking to get his hands on a Master Ball. Giovanni must feel pretty threatened by me because before I say anything, we're forced into another battle with the boss. As always, he starts off with his Persian, who I seem to forget always starts out with a fake out, which flinches Jessie. On the next turn, she gets in a Karate Chop, which one-shots his beloved kitten. His next Pokemon is Rhyhorn, which we just nearly take out with a Dig, but on the next turn, it goes down to a U-turn. This allows us to make a safe switch into Junior, as his last Pokemon is Nidoqueen. We've had quite good luck so far with Hydro Pumps, and we successfully land one, which one-shots his last Pokemon. As a reward for defeating Giovanni, the Silpho president gives us a Master Ball, and don't worry, I'll make sure to use this way better than Giovanni would have. This has felt like an eternity, but we're finally able to take on Sabrina, who has in my opinion the coolest gym in the region. As I mentioned before, Sabrina is a Psychic type trainer, and even though she's not as scary as she was in the anime, she is still quite a brutal trainer.
Please, 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 don't prove alright.
Sabrina starts off with her Mr. Mime, and I don't really have any great counters for this. I decided to start with Chili as it can hit the hardest, and it certainly does, because one Flare Blitz one-shots this clown. Because Chili is out, she sends in her Slowbro next, which is exactly what I was scared of. After checking his stats and weighing my options, I decided to risk it because I feel like I have enough attack that I could possibly one-shot this tank. And, as usual, I am very wrong with my theory, and we only managed to get this thing down to the yellow after using a crunch. But we did manage to get a defense drop in the process. I'm not sure what this girl is thinking, but she goes for a yawn instead of attacking us with a water type move, so on the next turn we're able to take her Slowbro out with another crunch. Now that Chili is fast asleep, we're in a bad position because he was our only solid counter for her Jinx, which she sends in next. I decided to switch into Mind Freak because I anticipate Jinx will use a Psychic, which shouldn't do too much damage. For once, I make a correct assumption and only take a small amount on the switch in. A Shadow Ball isn't enough to take Jinx out, but with some luck we're able to avoid a lovely kiss. But really, are we lucky? Because who wouldn't want to kiss up on those lips? On the next turn, a second Shadow Ball takes out this beauty, and we're down to Sabrina's last Pokemon, her own Alakazam. Even though her Alakazam isn't shiny, and therefore is not as good as mine, it's somehow able to outspeed me and does minimal damage with a Psychic. Once again, Mind Freak disappoints and barely misses out on one-shotting with a Shadow Ball. Her Alakazam goes for a Nightshade, which brings us down to 18 HP remaining, but a second Shadow Ball takes out Sabrina's ace, and we've won our 6th gym badge, and still 0 losses somehow. As we're heading towards the end of this game, it's only right to do our final shiny hunt, and for this we head to the power plant. For this hunt, I'm using another Pokemon that I've actually never used before, and that's Voltorb. Now, I thought this would be an easy one because why would a ball move around lots when you're trying to catch it, but they do actually put up quite a fight. There's also lots of other Pokemon that spawn in here, so I had to dodge lots of guys for a whole 8 hours. Oh, hey! I was literally about to quit and start a fire. Yep, and it's huge. It's absolutely huge.
Remember when I said I had a good use for my Master Ball? It only seemed right to use it for my last shiny hunt, and it's also quite fitting to me because a shiny Voltorb is blue, the Master Ball is kind of that tone. I know it's purple, but close enough.
Damn! $302 catch combo. Caught 326 total.
So the final Pokemon we're going to hunt for is now on the team, and we name him Bluey, after my niece's favorite show, and he's literally a blue ball, so it just makes sense. We take Bluey to Cinnabar Island to take on the 7th gym, and wouldn't you know it, we're unable to get into the gym because it's locked. So we're forced to go on the most pointless side quest ever into the Pokemon Mansion to find a secret key. The only thing noteworthy that actually happens inside here is that we evolve Bluey into an Electrode. Once we get inside the gym, I remembered that this is not an ordinary gym. Blaine specializes in not only Fire-type Pokemon, but also trivia. So in order to battle Blaine, we have to get 5 answers correct. Obviously, I whizzed through this because I've been playing Pokemon for most of my life, but it's also pretty easy. What I didn't know, however, is that once you answer all 5 questions, you immediately have to battle him. So my team is underleveled, and I don't have a great leading Pokemon, but here we go, I guess. Blaine starts off with his Magmar, and I unfortunately have Bluey up front because I was training up my newest team member before this. Not really the ideal matchup, so we exchange a few Thunderbolts and Flamethrowers, which does get me burnt in the process. After 3 turns of going back and forth, a third Thunderbolt takes out his first Pokemon. Bluey put up a somewhat almost decent fight, but there's no way he can take on Blaine's Rapidash, so it's Junior's time to shine. He gets hit with 2 Flare Blitzes, which he's able to take fairly well, and with a combination of the recoil damage plus a Surf, Rapidash is toast. Up next is Blaine's own Arcanine, which once again is not shiny, so I don't even know how he would use one. Junior is slow as could be, so Arcanine obviously outspeeds us and brings us down to only 29 HP after a Flare Blitz. But like its fallen team member, the Arcanine isn't able to survive a Surf plus its own recoil damage, which means we're on to Blaine's final Pokemon Ninetales. Junior has done all he can do in this fight, so once again I have to switch into something else, and we don't really have any great matchups. Honestly, if I have to lose anyone, I think Jessie has done the least in this Nuzlocke, but in the event that she does do okay, she can also hit pretty hard. Jessie makes me eat my words because one dig takes out Ninetales. That means 7 badges, 7 shiny team members, and 0 losses so far. Not to get cocky, but I feel pretty unstoppable in this playthrough. Only one more gym to take on before it's time for the Elite Four, and once again, we're not able to get in. I'm not sure what is up with these pointless cutscenes, but we're forced to go back to Professor Oak's lab to learn about Mega Evolution. Shout out to Legends ZA because I am so excited to play this game. I'm debating doing a Let's Play of this game, so if you'd be interested in seeing that, let me know. We're then forced to chat with this random girl smelling flowers who has nothing to do with the story, but she does let us know that the gym is open. Like, how is this necessary at all? Giovanni of Team Rocket is the 8th gym leader, which was the biggest twist of the century for me as a child. In this battle, he ditches his Persian and sticks with just ground types, and the funny thing about this gym is that it took me longer to actually get into the gym than it did to battle Giovanni. Even though Junior is pretty slow, he has insane defense, so he was able to solo this entire battle and just surfed everyone away. 8 gym badges down, and now it's time to take on Victory Road. Victory Road was pretty uneventful, as most locations are in this game. We had a couple obstacles in our way, a few easy trainer battles, and caught some Pokemon to level up the team. I was kind of expecting to find a random shiny, but the most interesting thing I came across was this. Poor Bluey boy is such a chungus, he just gets stuck on corners. After all our hustling and strategizing, we finally make our way to the Indigo Plateau to take on the Elite Four, and isn't this introduction sweet? The music plus the visuals make it actually feel menacing, and we have a moment with our old buddy Squid, and then it's time to get down to business. Before we can actually start our battles, I gotta regroup and think a little bit because I have 7 Pokemon, only 6 spots in my team, and 5 battles. battles, which are not going to be easy. Unfortunately, this is an easy decision, and even though it was our longest shiny hunt, we're going to have to sit Cobra Chicken out. Flying just isn't a great matchup for any of these battles except for Bruno, and Mind Freak can also counter fighting and is just much better, so to the box you go, Farfetch. The highest level in this Elite Four is 57, but I decided to train my team up to 55 because I didn't want to go over the level cap, because this has been my most authentic Nuzlocke ever since I've been using set mode. And let me remind you, there are still no deaths. First up is Lorelei, the Ice-type trainer, and this is actually the battle I'm most worried about. She starts off with her Dugong, and my starting Pokemon is Bluey, who unfortunately isn't able to get a one-shot, but does land a paralysis. Next turn, a second Thunderbolt does the remaining HP, and then she sends in her Jinx, which is the Pokemon I was most worried about. Once again, I spam Thunderbolt, and once again, I get a paralysis, which actually makes Jinx unable to attack. To my surprise, I'm able to take down Jinx without any issues, and this just makes me wish that I got Bluey sooner because he's quickly become one of the best members on my team. Lorelei sends in her own Cloyster, who goes down to a single Thunderbolt, then comes in her ace Lapras. Sticking with what we know, I continue to spam Thunderbolt and do about two-thirds damage. Then we get hit with a Hydro Pump, which doesn't really do much. Next turn, a second Thunderbolt takes down her Lapras, and very quickly we're on to her last Pokemon, Slowbro. And you guessed it, Slowbro also goes down to a couple Thunderbolts. A quick and easy battle, which gives me some hope that this Elite Four is going to go smoother than I anticipated. Next up is this absolutely chiseled specimen of a human named Bruno. Clearly by his appearance, he uses Fighting-type Pokemon, and he starts off with his non-Fighting type Onix. I start with Arugula as she can easily take down a starter who is 4 times weak to Grass-type attacks, but also will bait in his Hitmonchan, who I know has both Fire and Ice Punch. To counter this, I swap into Chili, who won't take much damage from either and can one-shot this dude with the Play Rough. Up next is his Ace Machamp, and I have a feeling this thing will go for an Earthquake, which is super effective against Chili, but after some deliberation, I decide to stick it out and go for another Play Rough, which brings him into the red. As expected, we get hit with an Earthquake, which ends up being critical and takes us down to 92 HP. Forgetting that Play Rough isn't 100% accuracy, I decide to use another one, and luckily it doesn't miss, and we take out Machamp. I forgot Bruno had a Poliwrath in the remake, so Chili is swapped out for Rugla, as there's no way he can survive another hit, and Vileplume gets hit with a Waterfall on the switch-in that's not very effective. Mega Drain does a lot of damage and restores our HP in the process. Now you gotta love that good old switch drift, because I accidentally click Growth instead of finishing this guy off, and afterwards I get paralyzed from a Body Slam. On the next turn, I get outsped because I'm paralyzed, and I almost go down to a critical Body Slam, but I'm able to take out this monster with a final Mega Drain. Not the way I planned this battle to go, but thank you Nintendo for your terrible controllers. Up next is this final Pokemon Hitmonlee, and I decide to use our own fighting type and swap into Jessie. An Earthquake plus a Brick Break takes this thing out, and we've won our second Elite Four battle. The third Elite Four member is Agatha and her poison types, which means it's Mind Freak's time to shine. She starts off with her Arbok, and let me just remind you all of Mind Freak's special attack and speed. That being said, this is how the battle goes. A clean sweep by Mind Freak. Agatha, I am so sorry for your loss, but you just didn't stand a chance. The final Elite Four member before the champion is Lance, and he is one of my favorite trainers in this franchise. Technically, he's a Dragon-type trainer, but more so like a Flying, because in Gen 1, there's only one Dragon line. Lance starts out with a Seadra, and I start off with Bluey, who's able to one-shot this thing with a Thunderbolt. Up next is his Aerodactyl, who most likely is going to use an Earthquake, so I swap into Junior, who takes very minimal damage. On the next turn, we get outsped, obviously, and get hit with a super effective Rock Slide. Even though abilities don't exist in this game, this thing must have Sturdy because after a Surf, this thing looks like it has 1 HP left. I decide to switch back to Bluey because I think I'll be able to survive a Rock Slide, and then outspeed him, which is exactly what happens, so his Flying Dinosaur is now extinct. Up next is his Gyarados, which is 4 times weak to Electric and stands 0 chance, so goodbye to that thing. Lance's second last Pokemon is Charizard, which once again is not a dragon. Bluey isn't quite able to take it out with a Thunderbolt, and then we get hit with a Dragon Pulse, but that doesn't do too much. A second Thunderbolt does the job, and we're on to his ace Pokemon, Dragonite. After a couple years of playing Pokemon, I'm finally starting to remember my type matchups, and I remember that Dragonite is not weak to electric type moves. So I decide to swap into Chili, who eats an Outrage decently on the swap in. On the next turn, I myself use an Outrage, and with Chili's insane attack, I can one-shot his Dragonite, which means we have successfully beaten the Elite Four, and all that stands between us and the end of this run is a single battle. We find out that the Pokemon League champion is no longer Blue, and as of a few minutes ago, is now our rival Subcount. Somehow, our little old rival we met way back in Palatown managed to become champion, even after all the times we absolutely stomped this kid. In order to finish off this Nuzlocke and claim the title of champion, we have one final battle ahead of us. Subcount starts off by randomly Mega Evolving his Pidgeot, and even though this thing is awesome, where did this come from? We start off with our best counter, and also the MVP of the Elite Four, which is Bluey. A Thunderbolt takes Mega Pidgeot down to the red, and we take very little damage from a Heat Wave. Subcount is trying to delay the inevitable and uses a full restore, but after two more Thunderbolts, we take out his precious bird. His next Pokemon is a non-shiny Vileplume, and we swap into our other MVP, Chili. His Vileplume sets up a Solar Beam, which is not only pointless, but also the perfect opportunity for us to one-shot this thing with a Flare Blitz. He then sends in Slowbro to try and counter Chili, so I decide to send in Arugula. Slowbro annoyingly sets up a Light Screen, so we don't take any damage on the switch-in. I decide to try and be strategic and put Slowbro to sleep, then start using Mega Drains to hopefully avoid getting hit with a Psychic. This game unfortunately has an annoying happiness mechanic, so even though he wakes up and uses Psychic, we dodge it with the power of friendship. On the next turn, another Mega Drain takes out Slowbro. Up next, he sends in his Rapidash, so in comes Junior. We get hit with a Flare Blitz on the switch-in, and that's nowhere near as strong as Chili's, and a second one takes us down to about half health. Once it's our turn, we're able to one-shot Rapidash with a Surf. He then sends in Jolteon, and I swap back into Arugula because why not? Now this part I'm a little confused by because Jolteon goes for Thunder, which has a 30% chance of missing, and once again, Arugula dodges the attack with the power of friendship. Several times. I don't know if this is because of the new mechanic or Thunder just naturally missed and the text and animation is used anyways. After exchanging Mega Drains and Thunders for a while, Subcount uses a full restore, and a Thunder that actually lands leaves Arugula with a paralysis. But that is quickly cured also by the power of friendship, which I think is so bogus. I've done so well in this Nuzlocke, and if I win, I don't want it to be in an unfair way. But then we get paralyzed again, so I feel like it kind of balances it out. I'm not sure. Anyways, Jolteon goes down, and we're on to his last Pokemon, which is Marowak. This thing starts off strong with a very powerful Fire Punch, which is quite a lot of damage, but we do heal it back with a Mega Drain. Once again, Arugula's paralysis is healed against my wishes, and Subcount also heals with a full restore. Two more Mega Drains, and down goes Marowak, which means we've defeated the champion, and we've successfully completed our shiny-only Nuzlocke of Let's Go Pikachu. Part of me feels like this is a cheesy win, but I'm fully confident I would have won with my team. The friendship fiasco only happened against two of his Pokemon, and even if I were to lose Arugula, I would have had 5 other Pokemon against his final 2. We had great counters for each typing, and I hadn't lost anyone this entire run, which I have to say has never happened to me ever before in a Nuzlocke. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I will be giving away all the shinies that made it to the end of the video, which means my entire team, Farfetch'd, and even the extra Oddish I caught to rebattle Misty. So if you want these shiny Pokemon, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and comment what your favorite Gen 1 Pokemon is. On November 1st, I'll announce the winner and get in contact with that lucky subscriber. I am very excited to say that my next video will be some Legends at 8 content, so if you're looking forward to seeing me play that game, keep an eye out on the channel. I may have even booked some time off of work just so I can play as soon as it gets released.
I have been King Squid Games, and thanks for watching. Squid, do you have anything to say?